You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, Don, our guest, first of all said, which you haven't done for the 2 years we've been doing this, he said, how close do I get to the microphone? He wanted to know so people could hear him properly. Take note of that, will you? That's for a start. Secondly, the man that I'm about to introduce, I know you had a clothing shop when you were, a bon vivant man, when you had some hair and you thought you used to walk around the suburbs with open neck trousers and trying to attract people of all sorts. And I then embarked on a career loosely described as the entertainment industry. Loosely described, Don. I was on a...
You were selling ladies' products.
Ladies' products, hairdressers, yes. But then later on got in for a quarter of a century onto a show that was loosely described as entertainment. So, but this man here, this is beside him being a combatant of yours and mine in earlier days of football. He has moved on to the next level of what we would consider enterprising excellence, and he's started. Anyhow, I won't go any further, but I'm about to introduce him. He played. This is just who he was, but we'll get on to who he is at the minute. He played 249 games for two different clubs, not two different clubs, as in total 249 games, and he kicked 244 goals, Don, which is nearly a goal a game if you think about it. If you kick 244 goals and you've played 249 games, that's for every season and game he played, he kicked a goal. It's an interesting stat, isn't it, Don?
No, I'm more interested in this.
No, we don't. No, we're not getting onto the prospectus. We're just doing who he is first.
Can we talk about it?
I'm introducing him. It's no good speaking about him if we don't introduce him. He played from 1974 to 1982 with the Collingwood Football Club, and while he was at that club, Don, he won a Brownlow medal. Then he went to the Melbourne Football Club, the current premiers, and in 1983 to 1987 he played for Melbourne. And while he was at Melbourne, have a guess what he won, Don?
What?
I just pressed the wrong button. That's meant to be crickets. I pressed the finishing theme. He won another Brownlow medal, right? You listening?
No, I'm looking at the key personnel involved in this business.
When he played for Collingwood and they lost to Carlton in 1981, he was presented with a runners-up medal, and legend
really?
has it.
A runners-up medal.
That's right. And
I've got chuck that to the shit.
Well, I've got a feeling that was his exact thoughts, because it says here that he threw his runners-up medal away.
I would too.
Well, we can ask him that. I'm not sure. I don't think he has a son called Darcy.
Oh, I know who it is.
You know who Darcy is?
No, I know who we're interviewing.
Oh, that's
Peter
handy, Don.
Peter Moore.
Well, I was about to introduce him. He has a son who plays for Collingwood, and I'm glad that you know who it is, because that shows you how much preparation you've done for the interview we're about to conduct with him. He's the executive chairman, Don, of a company called, tell us what it's called. You had an unusual pronunciation of the name. You called it
You're a smart
You called it Cyrena.
Shut up.
It's Sierra Nevada Gold Company.
He's the executive chairman.
The executive
chairman.
And all right. So it is the great Peter Moore. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, boys. Fun to be here and see you guys.
Now,
still
Peter,
kicking and going well.
We can go. We'll get onto your football and all that. But
yeah.
I'd love to do that. But just tell us, mate. I can't even wrap my head around how you would get involved. How do you embark on being the executive chairman of a gold company? How does that work? I just can't. It's got beyond me.
Well, it was beyond me at one point, Sammy, as well. But no, my dad's a geology professor. That's how it started, right? And he was based in the US, and I was, as you might have known, I was a lawyer for a while after I finished footy. And Dad and I got involved in mining using a technology he developed. So that's where it started, and then I've been in it ever since, through the resources business. And this latest venture, I've been...
How long you been in the resources business?
40 years, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I know we're getting old, aren't we? No, not that long, 30
So what have
years.
you been doing, Maury? What do you mean in the resources?
Exploring. This venture was started in 2011. It's a privately funded exploration company. We've got 5 projects in Nevada, a big copper project and 4 gold projects that we're exploring. So we're raising money on the stock market right now to
so how do you
go?
Listen, how do you go finding this? Do you fly over these areas? Do you map it? Because I'm just looking at your prospectus here, and you've got, Nevada. It's a big place.
It is.
So how do you go finding gold and copper ready to drill? 5 copper and gold assets ready to drill.
Yeah.
How do you actually find the locations?
Well, that's the trick, and we spent over $10 million over US over 10 years to put the projects together and do some work on them, put the land together, validate the projects, and then get them ready to drill. So that's what we're up.
Yeah, but you haven't explained how you actually find them.
You find them, well, we found them with aerial surveillance
Rock samples?
technology,
No,
lots of geology, team of geologists, doing
So you fly
geophysics.
over an area first, do you, and look at what?
Well, that's
the
one of the things you do,
topography?
yeah. See, we did low altitude helimag out of helicopters to identify one of our big projects, the big porphyry copper
Is this what your
project.
father developed?
Yes, that type of technology, yeah. So it's based around that, and then the trick is to figure out where to go. A lot of these projects are historic mining areas, old mines that have never been explored. So the old boys have mined them in the 1800s. It's fantastic to see. All the old shafts are still there. You can get down in and see the ore that they mined and all that
So
stuff.
you're going over the old mine.
Yeah, usually what you do, Don, in the exploration caper is go where you know the gold is. So, if it's historically mined, we go there and that's where we start looking. And 3 or 4 of our projects have got historic little mining centres on them, like half a dozen. One's got 14 reasonable size historic mines. So that was how Kalgoorlie started. A lot of mining areas start with the original discoveries from the prospectors, in the 1800s.
What about the areas such as close to Melbourne, up at Pound Bend, Warrandyte? That was an old gold area through there.
Yeah. You can still pan gold there in the Yarra.
You can pan gold.
Up at Warrandyte.
So could you use your technology to find a vein? Would there be a vein through there?
Yeah, you could. But
Not fast enough.
We're focusing on, not big enough up there. We're focusing on Nevada because there's big deposits there. There's big mines, 20, 40 million ounce gold mines there.
Don't just take a pan up to the river up at
But you'd
Diamond
find
Creek.
a gold vein.
Oh, gold
would
vein.
be another old one,
Well,
wouldn't
there's
it?
people exploring it, Hella, yeah. And they go, and the same Bendigo, the new...
Rutherglen was where my grandfather comes from, and they had gold mines up there.
They
too.
did.
That's fascinating, Don, your grandfather.
shut up,
No,
you
Don,
idiot.
please, listen. Peter,
Anyway, it's a lot of fun.
your father is a geologist and he's an Australian.
Yes.
And you're an Australian. How did 2 Australians go over to America and get a lease or a mining permit under the Americans' noses and start this off in the first place? There must have been some red tape or some kickbacks or some quid pro quo. How do you just go over there and do that?
Well, my dad was a professor at a university over there from the 60s. Actually, he's moved over there in the 60s. So... And we did, with our consulting company, with our technology, did a lot of work in Nevada. So we'd been there, worked there, seen the potential of it. So in 2011, I started putting projects together with a view to doing an IPO at some stage. So you can just go in and... IPO, initial public offering. So it's listing on the stock exchange. It opened yesterday. And we're raising about $12.5 million to go drilling. And Don, that's the exciting bit, drilling the holes.
But hang on, mate. What do you do? There's no guarantee, is there?
Oh no, it's speculative. It's speculative. I mean, it's
So it's going to
risky.
be hard to raise $12.5 million. Do you think?
Oh no, well it's pretty common with these things, and these have got good projects. They've had a lot of money spent on them, so we've got targets ready to drill, which is a difference to other things. Yeah, so a lot of fun when you get drilling, though. It really is.
Now, Don, we have an extensive and eclectic range of people who listen to this podcast. Don?
Yeah, I'm looking at the prospectus.
What are you looking at?
Well,
The prospectus.
I'm going to take this home. This
It's
is
the
fascinating.
prospect.
Hey, Maury, is
Hang
this
on,
bullshit
just
Baffin's
Don.
brains
No,
here, or
Don.
is
No,
there
Don.
something
Don.
concrete?
Shut up, Don. we have an eclectic range of people who listen to this podcast. You're probably not going to stump up some money to be an investor, and I probably aren't, because I've got to the stage in my life where it probably won't come on stream while I'm probably able to walk without a walking frame. But there could be a number of people around the world that might be interested in this, Don. Are you listening?
Yes.
I might be interested in this, so this is why we're speaking to the great Peter Moore. Besides his skiing endeavours and his foot...
Skiing?
He is a world-class skier.
Bullshit.
Absolutely. Don.
Are you a skier, Maury?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I learnt to ski when I was a kid. My dad was a teacher at Scotch College.
Could have been
Hang on.
private
Your
school,
father's a professor of
geology,
and he's a school teacher.
he used to be a school teacher at Scotch, and he used to take us up on the school holidays. And that's where he
Could
learnt
have
to
been a world-class skier. Could have been a
Really?
world-class athlete.
ski. It might be overstated.
Hang on, shut
That
up,
might be
John.
like you, Don, being a world-class equestrian. Was that were you a chance to do that, do you think?
You got to have the horse.
Yes, you've got to have the money and the horse. Well, I didn't start early enough, but I was a pretty good skier in my day, still ski.
Oh, it was a top-class skier, Don. Don't let modesty overcome
Well, how
you.
good were you, Maury?
Oh, I didn't race or anything, I just skied.
Well,
you know,
Judd didn't race, so
just
how would you
skied.
know?
Yeah, just skied.
Well, so I don't play, not me, but people I know don't play, not professional golfers, but they're exceptional golfers, and if they put their mind to it, they could be. If he put his mind to it, he'd be an Olympic skier.
Could you
I'm
be
telling
a
you that.
professional golfer if you put your mind to it?
No,
Really?
so I haven't got the talent. But he, anyhow,
How would you know that he's got the talent to ski?
because
Have you seen him?
I haven't seen him, but you ever heard of a thing called hearsay?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Rumours.
Well, rumours. I know enough people who inform me on various people. People say, you're a numbskull, Don. And I say, that's not right. You're not a numbskull. I defend you. But people say he was a world-class. So, Peter.
Yes.
We are trying to raise, not through this medium, but we're trying to raise some money to take this venture further. I've got, I don't know, gold is still the standard that financial institutions base their wealth on, isn't it? Is it
Well,
the
it's
most
important,
traded,
yeah. It's
besides,
important.
we had this conversation, besides coffee and oil, it's probably the most traded commodity. What is an ounce of gold worth?
Particularly, it's over $1,900 today because of the Ukraine situation. So whenever there's a war on, there's gold goes up. So it's nearly 2,000 an ounce at the moment.
So we had this conversation, Don. I didn't know. I said, what do you reckon the price of an ounce of gold is? And you said $300, and I said I would say more I would say more $1,200. But I think is that about what's that? Is that vaguely it now?
That's Australian, yeah, $2,600.
$2,600 Australian an ounce.
I'll just tell you a little
About
story.
1900
When I
US.
sold my businesses, my retail businesses, the jeweller next door said, you should buy gold. It's $98 an ounce.
Oh, wow.
I said, no, I can't be bothered. But anyway, we all have those stories, don't we?
So it is that would probably be the most marketable raw material, obviously, in the world, besides platinum and silver. Well, silver doesn't even...
Yes, gold's good, and copper as well, because with all the electric cars and solar power and all that, copper's important. We've got a big copper discovery there. We discovered a new copper porphyry system that we're going to drill up, and also we had a discovery hole into one of the gold projects. Got a good intercept of 30 grams gold equivalent over sort of 4 or 5 metres, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to follow those up as well. So hopefully we'll find something good.
Well, I presume that the infrastructure required to have earth-moving equipment or drilling things to mine enough ore or enough geographical material to actually see if you can extract it must be immense. The
mining phase, we're in the exploration phase, which is mostly drilling and geology and field work and all that stuff. And then the next phase is once you identify a resource, then you go to how you're going to mine it and building infrastructure around that. So we'll get to that point. At this stage, we're an explorer, so we're in the process of drilling up and trying to drill up resources.
So
our
plan. I suppose it would be a pretty competitive. Is there plenty of people, prospectors? Yeah,
there's lots of prospectors that they've got to find something to see. If they don't find anything, it's not worth anything.
And you're one of those people?
Yeah, and we've got 2 discoveries on of the 5 projects.
Have you?
Pretty good targets to follow up. So it should be exciting.
These will sound really basic, dumb questions, but that is sinking a drill into the ground to so many 100 feet or something, and finding that the material that you're extracting is looks like it's gold-bearing strains or veins of gold. I mean, is that how it works?
Yeah, that's it. It's just all drilling, and in we call it drill the lie detector. That tells you whether you got something or you haven't. And we've got a 20,000 metre drilling program planned for the next year. So. Next year and a half, so that's a lot of metres.
What's that mean?
That's a number of shafts,
That's a number of holes we're going to drill, 20,000 metres. So each hole is probably, a few hundred metres.
So, Maury, just looking
a few hundred metres, that's 600 feet.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you will find, in all these places, you find what copper you could... When you put
the byproducts,
you could find copper, or you could find gold, or you could find
titanium.
silver when you drop one of these.
Yeah, well, all of those projects have copper, gold, and silver on them in the veins in the historic workings. So they've already been mined for gold and silver and other minerals and copper. One of them. So so we know it's mineralised. There's gold there. What we've got to now do is put together resources that are mineable.
Platinum mine shafts there. To me, being a layman, would you make an open cut mine, and then you would have to extract gold, copper, and silver from that ore that
ideally,
rock that you bring up?
Shallow enough, Don. Yeah, if it's shallow enough, you can do it open cut. If it's shallow and you can like near the surface, you can open cut it. If it's deeper, then you would underground mine it. So it just depends on the nature of the deposit, and all depends on the grade and how economic it is. That depends on the function of the depth and the grade.
Have you had success in this in the past?
Yeah, we've done in the exploration company that we had. We were involved in several discoveries.
Whereabouts?
In Nevada primarily. Yeah, a couple of big projects that my dad and I worked on in the 90s and in the 2000s when we did a lot of work in Nevada. So always worked there and been there a lot, and it has a lot of potential.
Do you travel to this as the executive chairman? You're an enabler. Do you? I presume you're an enabler. Do you travel to the States with a view to selling this project, or do you do it from here, or do you do it through Skype or FaceTime or whatever?
We're listing on the ASX, so most of the market's here.
Yes.
But the projects are in the US, so we travel. We've got an office and set up in Reno in the States, and we
Reno,
Nevada, and I've been going before COVID, 6 or 8 times a year, and I'll be moving over there in May to run this company. So
the most prolific producers of gold, I think, is the Congo, is it, or no?
Yeah, there's a lot of good places. Australia's great.
Is it?
Kalgoorlie and all of that, and Western Australia, and also Africa and
is that the Congo?
Mexico.
No. Congo, is that Africa?
Yeah.
No. Where's the Congo?
In Africa.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's lots of big producing areas, but the Nevada's great because it's good infrastructure. Highways, roads, access is good. Good, well-developed sort of drilling. There's lots of infrastructure.
And for it to be a successful venture, how much gold? An ingot of gold is 24. What's an ingot of gold? It's like as much as a brick, a house brick.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
but
worth
you'd want to
about
be finding, you'd want to find 500,000 ounces minimum, like 500,000 ounces to 1 million ounces in these high-grade vein systems, and the copper project could be anything.
500,000 ounces at $2,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Do the maths.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, mate.
But Sammy, it's risky. It's a thing. It's speculative and it's risky, and you've got to drill the holes to prove up the resource, which is what we're raising the money to do.
Well, the greatest chance. What's that saying? To take a chance, to not take a chance, is taking the biggest chance of life, isn't it? Or I'm not sure. That's a mixed metaphor. Yeah. If you don't take a risk, you'll never get anywhere.
That's it. You got to have a go. You got to have a go, or you don't win, do you? That's the thing. Yeah.
Now. So that's what you're doing at the minute.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is absolutely fascinating. And as I say, our friends in Israel and our friends in Vietnam and our friends who listen all around the world in Europe, Don, they might be interested in doing this. Don, investing.
Yeah, no, I'm more fascinated
well,
with
if they're interested, Sammy, it's Sierra Nevada Gold, so it's a website's got the prospectus and all that on it. So
Sierra Nevada, Don, you know that name.
Sierra Nevada Gold.
I can't pronounce.
sngold.com.au.
Sunoco, you said, I think, didn't you, or Sonora? So that's where you are at the minute with that.
Can I ask you a question, Maury? This looks like pretty rugged country. Have you got to put any infrastructure in, such as roads there, or there's mountains and they look fairly steep?
He said that's why they're over there, Don.
Yeah, there's a lot of mountains. There's a lot of the access is really good on all this.
Is it?
Yeah, it's all got roads
earlier.
Tracks and roads.
That's why he's over there, Don.
It's a good spot to explore. But yeah, it is mountainous, but there's lots of valleys and
and there's a desert.
Lots of deserts.
The Nevada
desert. I thought when he said, I looked at the map, Reno, it's not that far to the coast. You've just got to go across. It's not that far. So I thought accessibility that way. I didn't realise there are mountains like this.
Sierra Nevada mountains run down the California, the eastern California boundary. So the company's named after that mountain range. And that was a prolific gold producing area in the California gold rush. The Sierra Nevadas, where all the historic gold rush was, in the 1800s. So, it's always been a very big producing area. It's California, not so much now because the environmental controls there make it difficult, but Nevada's, very friendly to mining, which is good. They've got gambling, mining and golf. That's about it.
There's nothing much else there, is there?
No, it's getting better. Reno's got a lot of, bigger tech companies coming in there like... Tesla's in there, Elon Musk and Amazon and people like that are starting to come in there because the tax regime there is a lot better than California. But, so it's not a bad town, Reno. It's got a lot going for it. Near Lake Tahoe, which is good.
So the gold... I'm trying to... I'm not sure how to ask this question. So... Whenever times are tough or wherever recessions hit, people just flock to gold because it is that is the greatest security you can have. Can you ever see that? Is cryptocurrency's got nothing to do? Is that based on the value of gold, or is that just a secondary financial tier that is now starting to take hold? I don't even know what that. I don't even know what that question was.
No, I know what you mean. Your question is the reason gold's popular with investors is they see it as a store of wealth. It's seems to always go up in value. It goes up and down, but it's generally a good store of wealth, particularly when there's unstable, wars and unstable political environments. So that's it, and where cryptocurrencies could be a store of wealth, but they're so volatile, you can't really treat them that way. So, gold's very still popular as a store of wealth.
So Fort Knox holds the greatest reserves of gold in the world, I presume. So when times are tough and you've got an ingot of gold in your hand, how is that valuable? How does that become valuable? What can you?
It's all the mysteries of banking, Sammy.
It's been handed down from the ages. I mean, from the Egyptian times, gold was always a precious metal. It could be coal that's the precious metal,
or diamonds. What can
it could be that, and diamonds are. But I think it's just been a historical thing over the years that we've put a price on this thing called gold. So it could be silver.
What can you do? Bunker Hunt. Bunker Hunt was the greatest silver.
He tried to capture the silver market.
He did.
And he went under doing it. Went broke doing it. Yeah, that's right.
So what if you had an ingot, what can you do with gold?
You can't do anything except make jewellery out of it or store it. Or just store it.
How does that become the most...
And you don't get any interest on it, so it just they store it, and if it goes up in value, it's getting scarcer, so it's harder to find, and when it's in demand, the more demand there is, the more each ounce is worth.
Do you think there's more gold to discover in Australia?
I think there definitely is, Don. It's just harder to get. The
Why?
easy stuff. Oh, it's all buried. It's covered. It's difficult to. It's probably not exposed, so it's hard to find.
Is technology improving to such like you could put a guy, you go along with these metal detector things. Is technology going that way that it's easier to detect?
You can use all sorts of technology, remote sensing and geophysical technologies, and they do that in Victoria even. Up at Fosterville, there's a big mine up there and big deposit.
Where's Fosterville?
In northern Victoria, past Nagambie.
Oh yeah,
that area is all undercover. So they've found that it's not exposed to gold, but it's deep undercover that you can't see through. So that's all been found with this geophysical stuff.
And I suppose the red tape involved with getting a mining permit to mine in the middle of Australia would be to do with land rights and
more of that
don't
here.
Give them out. There'd be a whole investigation.
There's a lot of difficulties getting permits to mine, and land rights is just one of them. But in Nevada, we don't have much of a land rights issue because the country's so rough. I don't think the Indians even wanted to be there. So it's not much, and all of our land is Crown land. It's all what they call BLM land, Bureau of Land Management. So it's all
BLM, yeah.
It's all Crown land, so it's governed by the rules are all pretty clear.
So now I don't know if your son wasn't playing for Collingwood, would you have an interest in the AFL, or you've always kept an interest in it, or has it dissipated a little since they've? What Don and I probably think they've devalued what our game used to be, but that's just us. What do you think about where it's headed it starts today, doesn't it? I think.
This week. Or tonight. Yeah. Well, it's certainly changed. I don't know what you guys were like. Once I retired, I really didn't want much to do with it for a while. At least 10 years, I probably didn't see a game and was travelling overseas. Most players I know just walk away and really don't want anything to do with it for a while. But when Darcy started emerging as a kid, it looked like he was going to be pretty good. I got involved.
Of course.
In helping him, a bit, and I never coached him. I didn't think that was a good idea, but I was the assistant coach to a well-known junior coach, one Ricky Nixon.
Where at?
At Kew. He played played at the Kew Comets, so I helped Ricky keep Ricky under control when he was coaching them. So got back into it once he started playing. Of course,
They had a few famous coaches out there, didn't they? Wasn't Mike Fitzpatrick
probably was
an assistant coach?
Yeah.
Dr. Andrew Kay.
Yeah, no, it's associated with Carey Grammar and Trinity and all those schools around there that go in there. But so with the current footy, I don't know. I mean, it's just evolving and changing all the time. I don't like the low.
So do you go to each game he's playing?
I'll go. I don't like going to Marvel, but I'll go to MCG and watch him.
And what do you think of the game?
I find it tedious at times.
In what way?
Chipping it around and not moving the ball and not kicking to one-on-ones. And
do you understand why they do it?
Particularly Collingwood style in recent years. I understand why they're trying to control the ball and trying to precision pass it into the forward line, but it doesn't make for great.
If you started as a full forward, how would you go playing at full forward in the way that they play the game now?
Well, I think it's very hard for the big forwards now, and why they don't kick a lot of goals is because the slow build-up, the chipping around and slow build-up, and then trying to precision pass it into the forward line where there's nowhere to run. The forward line ends up being so crowded that there is not much space. So the skill is, and Geelong do it well, is to create space for one of your guys to lead into by leading away from the space. But, I mean, most of the time, they're competing with three guys. The key forward's got two or three guys competing with him, so very tough.
Do you think Collingwood threw your young bloke a little too early into the forward line?
No, he did well in the forward line when he was there. The problem was the delivery and the game style was such that you are competing against lots of people, and he was he was good there, and they originally wanted him to play back his first year, and then Travis Cloak, if you remember, wasn't firing too well, so he went up forward and then kicked 20 or 30 goals, so he was effective and a good mark and everything, so he could still play there. I think the dilemma now is, well, if you pull him out of the back line, how does that leave the team? You know, like where do you get the best benefit with him? I think he can be as good a forward as he is a defender, but he's just, it's a question of what the team needs, and I think they need him back, I think, at the moment. Yeah.
So...
bit easier to play back there, Don, as we know.
Yeah, down back.
Oh, yeah.
A piece of cake.
Remember when we used to sit... I
never sat. You two sat on the half-back line. You bludgers.
Yeah, intercept marking, they call it now.
Intercept marking.
Hey?
Jeez.
Yeah. Mind you, Don never took a mark over his head. He couldn't mark a beach ball.
No,
that's why we stood down the back, because we could actually repel attacks.
Read the play.
So you didn't listen to it. He gave an answer which required a follow-up, and you just didn't even listen to his answer.
Well, you follow it up, John.
Well, he said...
No,
he said, "What do you
Peter.
think of football?" And he said the chipping round. And he said, "But I don't find it interesting." And you went on to some other question. Do you think it'd be a good idea? Kevin Bartlett had a good solution to it. He said you should dispense with or change or reduce the interchange bench dramatically so that we don't pull people on and off the ground. He doesn't. He and you and I, Don, don't find it interesting because it's contrived and dappy and it's just a hodgepodge of chipping around. The current generation who watch football couldn't give a stuff as long as their side wins, but the value of our game has been eroded by nonsense. And it's about time people don't listen to you and I, Don, but listen to people like that, because it is our great Australian game, and I tell you what, it is a shadow of its former self, no matter what anyone says. And this is not a slight on the players who play it. It's just the way it's conducted and run, and the nonsense that goes on about trying to be correct all the time to fit in a political narrative which the world follows. And seriously, did you? So when Melbourne won the premiership, it's easy to have a foot in both camps.
Yeah, my team, you mean?
Of course, that's the point, isn't it? If Collingwood go well, you've got a foot in both camps. You must have been delighted seeing as you won a medal and gave them great service when you were there.
I was happy for them because a lot of people have waited such a long time, and they're a good club and good people, and they've had such a long drought that a lot of people that I was involved with there are still there. So, good on them. I think it was a great win, and they did well to get there. I think they had a bit of luck with injuries and other things to get there, but you got to take it when it comes your way, and they took it. So it was great.
You had an interesting career, if we can go back over it. The first one was the move, you and Kelvin Templeton to Melbourne. Was that purely for money?
No, it wasn't for money at all. I could have. There's pretty much the same money at Collingwood. The problem was all predicated on when Tom Hafey got sacked. You remember that was the year before I left. They sacked Tommy halfway through the year, and the club. I was in a critical point in my career, like 25, 26, about to go into the sort of prime of your career. And
were you captain?
I was, yeah, and I was a bit involved because I knew what was going on, and it was such a disaster off the field, like the board and the challenges to the board and the coaching, and they just had no idea what they were doing.
Now, hang on, let's put this. Is this when the new Randall McDonald, Len Thompson, or was that?
Yeah, I think
later?
They came in after they took John Hickey and those guys out, at that time. So it was all in turmoil, and the opportunity came to go to Melbourne and get a bit of clear air out of that whole mess as it was then. And probably if I'd had a bit of more advice from people, I probably would have stayed and toughed it out.
Were you actively involved in the? I suppose Tommy leaving?
The Tommy thing, well, I was in the sense that I was captain, so they were asking me, well, why are the players not responding and why are they off him? And they were. He definitely lost the players. And so, you get
Why
asked,
did he lose the players?
Oh, it was just too long with the same coach. I think we lost the 81 grand final to Carlton, and that loss was taken pretty hard by Tommy and others, and a lot of relationships fell apart.
What did he do? Take it out on you as far as training went?
No, he just players felt like he was personally critical of most of them publicly.
What they couldn't handle publicly?
Yeah, and that was the issue. So that just destroyed that relationship, and then we didn't win a game. We won one game in the first half of the following year, with it gone from a grand final to hardly winning a game. So they just had to make a change. I like Tommy personally, and he was great for me as a player, but. If he hasn't got the team with him, it's very hard.
What about at Melbourne? You and Gerard Healy didn't get on that well with Ron Barassi. You questioned his coaching. Why did you do that?
Well, Gerard did get on well with Ron. The problem was at Melbourne, it just didn't quite work. The coaching wasn't working well. I thought we had a pretty good team, pretty good list. We were competitive, but the coaching was an issue, no question about that. And we just didn't seem to be able to get the results we should have got with Ron,
So why was the coaching an issue?
I think just the communication and probably perhaps brass over-coaching, thinking that he had to do it all.
What do you mean by that?
I just had to do it all. You have to try and sort of take responsibility. So, but I got on well with Ron. He was a pretty fiery character. There was a few run-ins with all his sort of star players, but that was his nature. He was competitive. He was pretty aggressive.
You wouldn't come off the ground one day early in the one of those games. He tried to take you off the ground. You wouldn't come off
after 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This is what we said, Don, when we were speaking. You said you got to get people to play for you, not in spite of you.
Yeah.
And probably Ron was very rigid and basic and didn't evolve with this is the great Ron Barassi who was just.
Well, it all changed, Sammy, don't
absolutely.
they? It all evolves and changes, and you've got to change with it. So, yeah, he made some funny decisions that I had trouble. That was one of them. I had trouble comprehending. But.
So I remember in the early '80s. I'm sure you remember this. I was on World of Sport with Ron. And you won the Player of the Year or won some award, and they presented you with a shiny, brand new Datsun sports car.
They did.
And I remember when it came out, I thought, how in God's name will you get into it?
Yeah, I sold that. I couldn't. I had to pay the tax. Yeah.
You wouldn't have got into it.
No,
but that
small.
Was in the early 80s?
That was a 300 ZX.
It was
Nissan
too.
300 ZX.
And it was a very swish car in those days.
I won a caravan too that year, which I never used.
You won a caravan?
Won a caravan.
On World of Sport?
Doug Thorley caravan.
So what year was that?
Oh, I think it was the Brownlow year. Might have been 84. Yeah, 84.
And
yeah,
was that your best year of football, or was that just you won the awards?
Yeah, I think it was, Sammy, because it was struggling a little bit. The team was pretty good. We were competitive, but struggled a bit. But
because you made a good
and I
comeback.
had a lot to prove that year, because first year at Melbourne I got injured a bit and didn't get a clear run and got smashed by the media, for not performing as I would have hoped. So I was very keen to have a big one the following year. So had a great summer, trained great and got really fit and played every game and, managed to... I didn't... Probably in my back of my mind I had an ambition to try and win another Brownlow, but the main thing I was concentrating on was trying to play every game and try to be effective, play well in every game, particularly the games that you're winning and a bit easy and it's easy to sit back. Those games you've got to push hard if you want to, keep your performance consistent. So probably the most consistent I was mature. I knew what I was doing. Knew how to go about it. Knew how to prepare. So it was very satisfying.
There was a game. Okay, we talk about '84. I was commentating. You beat Hawthorn at Princess Park. It's probably one of the only times Melbourne has beaten. In this period. Melbourne were down. Now, you didn't play... No, I'm not being critical. You didn't play well, yet you got 3 Brownlow medal votes in that particular game.
Because I was a nice guy.
Is that the reason?
I was nice to umpires, I know I used to hear you going off at them, Don. No, they didn't give you any votes. You were a little bit critical of them.
I was a little more articulate. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with me, Don. I hate to bring this up. 1 minute you speak 1 foot away from them. You've got your lips almost on top of the microphone, and the people listening to this, your sound is distorted. If you couldn't sit with your face 6 inches away from the microphone consistently, I keep having to juggle the sound. Sorry about this, Peter.
Technical issues.
Oh, it's technical. So you mentioned Mike Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
You've played against him, obviously, and he's with First Boston.
He was, yeah.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Would he be someone that would he be someone you would ask for, or is he in a completely different field?
He's one of the investors in this.
What are the investors?
Yeah.
How did I know that?
I don't know, but Mike's great. I mean, he's got great, lots of high-level business experience, and we play a bit of golf together actually at Metropolitan.
He's down. I played golf with him down at Point Lonsdale.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice man. Never smiled or spoke to me once in the round.
No,
very keen.
Didn't crack too many jokes.
The most austere and clinical man I've ever played golf with. Very nice man. But not saying it wasn't personal. He just was so concentrating on his golf. Now, mate, did I must have had that in the back of my mind that I said Mike Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. Mike, he's been very successful in business, in funds management.
Brought that up. I had no idea he was an investor.
He's I think he is. I don't know. He's got the prospectus. He's going to subscribe, I think.
Oh, yes. Well, come on, Mike. Lift.
Yeah, lift, that's right.
Do something for your former...
He's pretty analytical, though. You never know. But, but it was... he was very, very good operator. Actually, Mike and Don and I were involved in the Players Association in the early days. Remember that, Don?
Were you in that, Maury?
I was the vice president to you.
Really?
That's how much impact I had. You've forgotten. But you were the president. Yeah. Don was, virtually...
What was he?
He was the president. He drove it. He drove it when no one was that interested. Remember Peter Allen managed it for us?
Yeah.
And you and Peter drove it for years when the AFL wouldn't even let us meet.
When My Baby Goes to Rio, that Peter Allen. Wasn't he? Was he When My Baby Goes to Rio de Janeiro?
Yeah, it was that Peter Allen. Actually, he was very good. He could entertain as well as administrate.
And what did Don do? What did Don do? Just
Don was the president and the spokesperson. You imagine he had plenty to say. So it was
what
against the AFL the VFL as it was then tried to suppress the Players Association and kill it off in its infancy. Remember the clubs wouldn't let us talk to their players and all that stuff. It was now it's a pretty powerful organisation.
Oh, well, Don rescued single-handedly Hawthorn from merging with your old club, and you would have had great training to do that, Don.
God, you're full of shit. Maury, we used to get the word, now this is a personal question, did you suffer from depression or whatever when you played?
I didn't think I did, Don, but after I retired and transitioned out of footy, I realised that I may have.
How did it affect you, and what were the symptoms?
I think you were constantly fighting it, in order to come up and play and be positive, and you had to talk yourself into playing. So I felt like, at times, and later in my career particularly, I battled a bit with depression, but it was undiagnosed. I didn't really know what it was, and then subsequent to footy, I did get diagnosed with a bit of mild depression and for a while. So I think it was a factor that was unrecognised. Like when we played, there was no one to tell you had it or help you with it or whatever.
Well, Bill Barrett, there's a famous case of Bill Barrett, and working with Tony Jewell, he explained, and I don't know if this affected you, but Bill would train the house down 1 week, would just train it down. Then the next week he just wasn't interested in training, and the same on game day. Yeah. If he was on, there was no way known he wasn't, going to be dynamic. But when he was off, he was off.
Yeah, well, it's very hard.
Was that the same with you?
Yeah, it sort of explained it a bit. I think it explains how at times it was really difficult to get up to really be wanting to play and wanting to train, and other times you felt great and you were.
So did you just push yourself through it?
Just push through it, yeah. Which is quite a bad way to deal with it. You push hard, push through it. You didn't really understand it, so there was no one to talk to. So you didn't really. You just assumed that you just had to tough it out and get strong, be mentally stronger. And I think a lot of players probably felt that.
And it could be another. anxiety, I think, overcomes can be sometimes confused with depression.
I agree.
You get very anxious about. Sometimes, I do this at golf, and I'm a very, very good shot maker at golf, and when under pressure, anxiety, choking, if you like, gets it, and you see the ball as an opportunity to fail rather than to succeed, and that's just anxiety takes over, and maybe that's confused with depression. Not getting depressed.
But anxiety is all mental health too, Sammy.
Yes,
it's all part of
absolutely.
Anxiety, depression, all that stuff.
Going back to your football, I played 1 or 2 games with Len Thompson in a representative team. He had to stay on the ball all the time.
You never got to run. You never got to run.
I found it pretty hard to get. I found it pretty hard to get a smell of the ball.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? I know you started as a full forward,
Well,
and
I
they started playing you in the ruck.
I started as a full forward. Tommy put me at full forward because I started centre half back. I played on Sam. Sam was centre half forward.
Really?
My first year, and I played a couple of games on him when he was centre half forward. I was playing just a kid learning centre half back. But then when Tom came, I couldn't get around on the ball like with Len. You just couldn't get on there. So he decided.
Hang on. So this fascinates me. Yeah. Did he control it? Like this was a friendly game, or a representative game, so I wasn't going to. But did the coach just allow him to do this, or did the coach say?
No, the coach allowed him to do it, to change when he wanted to, and he didn't want to change. And if you did get a run on the ball and you happened to get a few kicks, take a few marks, he'd pull you off straight away. So I was totally up to Len. So I then turned myself into a forward because that's the only way I could stay in the team, and ended up, had a couple of good years as a full forward. But you're right, he didn't want to give it up. And then finally in 79, Len went to Fitzroy. Tommy cleared him to Fitzroy and put me in the ruck, and that's the year I won my first Brownlow in that year, because making that just like getting let off the chain and getting into the ruck, and as a 22-year-old, pretty fit and just running around trying to get the ball. So it was.
Well, I will admit to you, Maury, I'll tell you now, we're playing out, and I thought this is the first nail in my coffin as a player. I've got to think about retiring, and Collingwood used to set up, they'd have, and set you up at centre half back, and you'd run to the open side, and I thought I was quick and could keep up, but I thought this particular day you were leading me to the ball, and I thought, I haven't got much longer to go in this game of football.
That was my strategy, to get an open side of the ground and lead to it, based so I could run faster than the ruckman. And Crackers, when I played on Crackers, he used to stand next to me and run with me, and so he had all his knee bandages on and was slow as an old ox. And he said, Maury, just don't go too hard so I don't look that slow. So he'd want me to run, three-quarter pace or half pace so he could be within hitting distance. And he used to ask me to do that all the time for him, so not to make him look slow.
Now, if I made this up, you were an extraordinary athlete. Could have done athletics could have represented Australia
could have done athletics. I don't know how far I would have gone, but certainly Darcy was a bit the same too. Could have been a really good athlete. So
in what field?
Sprinting mostly, and up to 400, 100 to 400.
Yep.
Probably more 200 and 400 than 100, just because of the start being tall. But
that's right.
Yeah, but it's pretty quick. For a big, or even at Collingwood, you'd be in the quickest couple of guys, even though I was a lot taller. And I think Darcy's the same, he's in his thing. So pretty athletic, and played basketball and did other sports, So like all of us, you played a number of sports, I'm sure, Sam.
No, I wouldn't put myself in the same class as you, but I was fated to be a 400-metre runner when I started at Geelong, and I chose to stay football. And Don could have done all that. So he's a supreme. No, you couldn't have, Don. You couldn't have. You're quite right.
I was very limited.
He's a supreme athlete, skier, athlete, footballer,
I'll take your word on the
gold
skier.
Prospector, and it's something that we can't even.
I can't get my mind around.
No, we're just dumb. We're two dumb footballers. He's a star. So here, this is what we do. This is what life's about. We dance in the dark.
Okay, hang on.
We laugh in the sunshine.
Okay.
And we always walk down memory lane, because that's all you got in life are memories. Do you understand that?
you would have been better to hit the button.
Peter Moore, we invite people to get hold of this prospectus. It's called Sierra Nevada Gold. The executive chairman is Peter Moore. He's a star, and we thank him for coming into You Cannot Be Serious.
It's great to be here. Thanks, boys.
And thanks. This is great reading matter, Peter. I'm going to take this home and I'm going to study it. I don't know what I'll come up with, but it's fascinating.
I'll tell you what you won't come up with, a bag full of money to invest. But we encourage other people to do that. Hang on. This is a first. This is a first. No, we're not editing anything. We were about to close off, and then Peter, I think we're still recording. We are. Peter said, Don said, No, Peter said, you don't remember the time I got reported? I said, hang on a minute. So we're just continuing.
I'll tell the story. It's a great story.
You give me your version, I'll give you my version.
And don't you shout into the microphone, Don, what you're doing.
My version is that we were playing...
Set the scene, Johnny.
We were at VFL Park, it was in those days. It was a day game.
No, it wasn't.
Night game.
Night game, grand final.
Yeah, that's right. A grand final night game, exactly right.
Yeah.
And then Don was a bit fired up and stalking around his side of the circle when we ran at each other, and he took aim at my left temple, came through with the right fist, and I saw it coming and just ducked, and he just clipped me on the ear, which gave me a real stinger on the ear. But I went down and made the most of it, of course. So I got a free kick, and I think we got down our end and got a goal. And then Don got reported, you see, for deliberately striking in the ruck contest. So the funniest bit was we went to the tribunal, and typical form, all the advocates were there saying to Don, now Don, it was accident. The lights got in your eyes. You couldn't see. It was a total accident. You didn't mean to hit him. And you would try to go along with it for a minute, that thing, that could be the story, because we used to concoct stories then to try and get each other off. And I was happy to go along with whatever they decided. Anyway, Don, in the end, got so frustrated with these advocates and all these people coming. He said, bloody hell, he said, I tried to hit him. Luckily, I missed. So I'm not going to say all that stuff. So you copped a couple of weeks. And that was copped a week for being honest, I think. And that was
Copped a week? I got 4. I'll tell you okay, this is a background. You ready? Yeah. It was premeditated. Now, on the Saturday, we went out and played Collingwood at Victoria Park. And I was injured. And they were forcing me to play at Hawthorn. And Hawthorn put up a pathetic effort against Collingwood. You thrashed us. Mm-hmm. It just so happened that Tuesday night was the night grand final and Hawthorn and Collingwood were playing. So they put me in. I couldn't. I was looking for a rest. The body was gone. I thought, now what can I do? So I concocted it. I thought, I've got to do something. So they were going to put me at centre-half forward. And just before the game, I said to David Parkin, you put Peter Moore at centre-half back, not Peter Moore, Terry Moore, I'll start in the ruck. Well, that threw Parkin out. And I thought, well, whoever's going to be the first ruckman's going to cop something. Unfortunately, Maury, it was you. You were the one. Had I have hit you, Maury, your head would have been in stud road. You made the most out of nothing. I got 4 weeks. But at least the body gave the body time to recover, because Hawthorn were making me play every week with injury.
You are an unconscionable thug, Don. That is just a disgrace to be premeditated, line someone up and try and maim them. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Hang on, you were the sneaky one.
That's enough now. That's enough.